I've clicked the button, so let's see if it actually comes up.
Everyone gets
It's
scared.
a weird. Anyway, the point I was going to make was it's a weird. The build system is probably the best part of the game, but it's so watered down. Like everything is just so nothing. You know what I mean? Like when I see a huge system like that, I almost in my head with the 4 and 4 thing.
We're up again.
We're good.
Awesome!
Yay!
Finally, hooray!
I wanna finish this one with the 4 and 4 thing. You think of it like a MOBA. First 4 skills is like a hero, like a champion in LoL or in Dota 2 or something. Those are the 4 skills, and then the second 4 skills are like the item slot skills that they have. So you know, over the course of the game, like you buy the items, and then those effects. So they have like big impact, but like neutral impact, and then the way that your hero works, like they have very specific skills. Anyway, should we should we carry on? What were we talking about?
I don't even know. We were talking about. Were we talking about durability, or that was I don't know.
I'm
No.
not sure if that was going through my
I
notes.
We were
was-
talking
I
about
was-
how items really aren't going to be going out of the economy at all.
There's no
The in-game
drain.
economy.
Actually, they are
Sorry,
because
it's not- it's a sink, but no
the
drain.
only way we get currency is from selling things to vendors, is what they said. So I don't know if that'll change, but it sounds like that's the current plan. So that'll just that instead of salvaging it, you can just chuck it, or if you've got a bunch of
But that's like
crappy
saying,
copper axes.
okay, we're going to have durability on items, but you're going to be able to repair it to full every time.
Well, but that's a
People know
coin
why
site.
we're
So
talking
it's-
about it.
It's taking something out of the economy, but is it going far enough though?
I think the issue is that Wilkie's talking about is like there's the progression system that you go through, and it's obviously balanced so that you need everything in the game on your way up. But
Yeah.
then once you get to the end, you don't have a use for any of those items before. And I think it's a common problem in crafting and MMOs. Like it tends to happen. You know, the end game materials
Well,
are the most
okay.
desired. There's no use for anything else.
The crafting system
So what
has
is
already
going to
shown
be the use
us.
for a middle tier gem to an end game
The-
fully progressed player?
The crafting system's already shown us one thing, and that's that the all of the major enchantments and enhancements and the things to upgrade your stuff, those take top tier materials. Those take ruby, those take diamond, those take elemental rubicite. So you don't even get to worry about having to make your stuff super badass. All of your armor, your weapons and armor, copper up to Ethereum, up until Ethereum,
But
is
Reese-
basically just to get you there. And once you're finally at Ethereum, and I used the black belt analogy just a couple of days ago, it's that all the stuff getting you there is just getting you to the point where you can finally start to customize your gear. Up until then, you're still just learning
Yeah,
and
that's
getting up to
okay.
that point in the
But
game.
Reese,
You're missing
there's
the
still going to
point.
be a finite point where you're not going to be able to do anything more with those materials to further better yourself in those items.
Well, no, not
Yeah,
in those items. It's that once
You're going to
again
be able to have different
variation.
sets of gear and whatnot, but there's a finite limit.
Okay, but yeah, until you bring building into the equation, it uses those items or not the items. Like I guess we're talking about like on your person, your gear and etc. But if you build lights, I mean,
Hello.
lights are a prime example. You know, they take freaking iron and silver. Well, I've like
Well,
mined
made
the
the
world
point
over for my iron and silver.
That's,
You know,
that's the thing, though. Crafting is different though because crafting will consume the resource, whereas building with voxels, you can always take that back.
Yeah.
We
and
also
use the
well, that's what I'm
resource
talking about.
for
Lights.
we also
'Cause it
don't
does
have
consume-
Yeah.
any like
crafting. But yeah, that's
in-game consumables. Like you're right that lights in terms of building can be, you know, kind of a consumable, especially if you're going to put 200 light orbs of some sort. That's a hell of a lot of lumicite of any sort to put down. But then we think about potions. Potions are going to drain a lot of material.
Well, but is
That's-
it going
that's
to
the question,
drain
though, is
just
what?
one type of material? Because I mean,
Oh, hell
okay,
no.
Era, I understand the whole props thing and wanting to build, but remember down the line, building is just going to be one aspect of the game.
Yep.
How are they going to make it so that the person that doesn't want to build doesn't run into that threshold of, okay, what
I'm
can I do
done.
now with all my resources?
Yeah.
I've
like
got
you-
it. I've got the analogy in my head. I've got the analogy.
Oh, no.
Right, okay.
All right.
Okay.
We're going
Get a drink.
going back to walk people. Hold on to your butts. Everyone say in chat, I played WoW for 30 minutes and didn't get it because I'm super hardcore. Right. In World of Warcraft, at the auction house, you always get a shit ton of copper because it's the first thing people can mine. So people go on, they start the character, they decide to do mining, they mine, they get bored of the character, they never come back. The copper goes on the auction house. You get a shit ton of endgame materials because everyone's at whatever the max level is now, and they've all been doing that and grinding it out for ages. They're all trying to make money, so you get a shit ton of those endgame items. Level 50 in between. If you're a new player to the game and you don't drop out after that first 30 levels, you know, when the real kind of the real grind starts kicking in, like it gets harder to find groups for dungeons and you're just slogging through all this content that they didn't really care about, and you know, you get to that point and then you're suddenly level 50 and there's nothing. Whatever you want to do, it's like there's no other players around, no one else is doing anything your level, you can't buy anything, you can't find any groups, you've just got to slog through that middle part. Is that what we want this game to be like? I would say no. So for me personally, the way you kind of get over that is you make all levels of materials relevant to people who are at the end game, because then those people at the end game will always have a need for everyone who's coming up through the game. Or if they can't get it, you know, maybe they'll even go back themselves. Maybe they'll find themselves a niche in that kind of level 50 type of area where the least people are, that they can, you know, they can exploit that way because there's not a huge amount coming into the market.
Well, I mean,
but I think that's how I see it.
That's what I saw. I mean, I'm at least on, like in WoW on my server, what a lot of people, including I did this for a long time, you take a double gathering profession and then you go and gather those level 50 materials that no one wants to farm and no one wants to, you know, and no one has on there, and you sell them and you make boatloads of money.
Yep.
You know,
Money.
so
But you
so,
can't, if you're leveling through the game for the first time, like you can't even do anything with that money. Like the materials are like so precious to you because you can't buy them. Yeah. And if they are on the auction house, they're like so expensive you can't afford them because it's your first character. So it's just totally isolating.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not saying that's like a good model to replicate. I'm just, you know, there are. I guess it comes down to economy, right? Like there's going to need to be. At least we'll need the infrastructure and the economy to allow other players to. I don't know to.
That's what I mean. It's like if you keep them relevant and keep them desirable for endgame. It's why I don't know if people saw before we went down, but I was talking about how I love it, the fact that it's stone and dirt that drops the highest level stuff that you want. So you need stone, you need the lowest level material to make the highest level things. If someone's been in the game for 10 minutes, sorry for everyone if you've heard this already, but you could be in the game for 10 minutes with a stone pick and you can be useful to someone who's been playing the game for a year. And to me, that's brilliant. But, you know, and I hope that they carry on that design throughout the whole thing so that everyone is always useful to, you know, the majority of the players, which after a certain amount of time will probably be the end game people.
See, this is where, I think that's why if you can, I'm just thinking, so like in EVE Sandbox, okay, they keep materials relevant by saying if you PvP, you lose your ship, you gotta get another one, right? So if you have to get another one, that means someone's got to get the resources. Probably not you, but someone's got to go out and get the resources to build another one. And it means, well, yeah, over time there is going to be a build up. There will be more rifters on the market in 2014 than there were in 2006, but it acts as a nice drain for, you know, that. I don't know if you could do, like, if you're depending, it would depend on how PvP feels, right? It would depend on like how easy it is to die, you know, like if in a given time frame, if you're going to die 20 times, then obviously that would not be an acceptable model to have your stuff disappear. But if you're going to die, like if it's actually if you're pretty resilient and it's sort of they've already said death is going to be meaningful, right? So I guess it's just, well, how meaningful? Like lose my stuff meaningful, you know? Or like maybe it's not all your gear. Maybe it's just like you keep 4 out of 5, you know? Like there goes a helmet.
You're tough.
You know, like, you know what I mean? Like I don't know, right? Like, and then it's like, well, maybe the casual model is you go and play in kind of crap gear, so you know, it's just like tin, who cares? You know, versus the hardcore will be like,
Well, that's gonna be another thing is with the side grade system or the side grady kind of equipment that you might not necessarily want to go out with your best mithril rating equipment all the time. You might just have some crappy cobalt stuff that you just have tons and tons and tons of from when you were trying to get one really nice piece that maybe you also have reserved for some other purpose. But you go out with the stuff when you're just doing general farming, and if you get killed and you lose your crappy cobalt helmet, whatever, it's a pretty decent item, protected you from some amount of stuff. But it's not like you lost your mithril or ethereum helmet or whatever that you just spent a week finally getting all the materials to customize exactly how you want all the runes, all the upgrades, everything. So that's where I could see a lot of items also going if there's going to be an item loss sort of system, is people just making kind of general whatever items. Now they also said though that you're going to find items out in the world. It's not just crafting. You're going to find treasure chests. You're going to find potentially loot off of enemies as well. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities to kind of get stuff. Something that I've been really wondering about though is like, are we going to see weapons and combat and all of that stuff before the salvaging system is in? Because that's one other thing. If salvaging is in, a lot of people might still just option to break down their items into raw materials, especially if it's something you don't need a station for and you can do out in the field, so you don't have to you don't basically have to sit there playing the inventory game trying to figure out which items you want to bring back and which ones you want to leave behind. And that would be a really nice thing to do. But if they don't have salvaging when the weapons go in, that would be a really good way to reinforce that people have to go to NPCs to sell the items and just get them out of their inventory that way if they want to do anything profitable with all that treasure they're finding.
I just want to point out, so Shadowspawn said, no need to lose anything, just make durability have teeth, which is sort of like rather than losing something, right, you're just losing a chunk of it almost, like, you can think of it that way. And then maybe have it take actual resources to repair. I mean, that's another option, so that would be much less hardcore.
What we just said, negative loot is like you open a treasure chest and you have an unskippable 10-minute video of Dave Georgeson talking. That would be awesome.
Okay.
Era, with the thing that Shadowspawn said though, that's assuming that whatever item you're getting isn't easily replaceable too, because what people really don't want to lose are like the epic items that took them weeks to gather the materials for or do a quest for. What if what we're looking at in an item system is something that is much simpler than that, and you're going to be making 50 or so breastplates just to equip your entire guild and have a couple extra that you can lose them then? How much would losing that item then be if you're able to mass produce them in that quantity? And it's not going to really be okay, we have this uber breastplate that we never want to lose.
That's assuming that you're in a 50-man guild that has the infrastructure to do that, right? Not everyone's gonna be in that position, right? So no. I mean, it's I guess it's a tough one.
It's difficult. It all comes down to like the fundamental baseline of like how they want gear to operate. Do they want gear to be transitory, or do they want us to work through the progression to end up with something amazing at the end? I think at the moment it looks like they want us to work through it and end up with something amazing, which to me says they don't want to then take that away from us. I think a lot of people would find that very frustrating. But to me it comes down to it's risk versus reward, isn't it? Builders don't really have to worry about it. Like if they're just on their claim doing their thing, there's no danger, like if they're on their claim,
Actually,
same
that we know of.
I don't know who else, like roleplayers or even PvPers. Like I doubt I'd have to worry about it. I doubt that implement a system that would make you lose durability for doing PvP, because they want people to carry on playing and not have to stop and go and get stuff to repair to come back and carry on playing. That doesn't seem like it'd be a smart decision. So the people who have to worry about this are the people that want to go out and explore an adventure throughout the world, the people that want to go down into the caves and they want to find stuff and look for stuff. So really the question of the durability and everything comes down to what system can you implement that creates a risk versus reward feeling for those people that are going spelunking in the caves and are going into the areas where they don't get to decide whether they're in danger or not,
Actually,
you know?
there's something that you brought up there that made me think about something else a little bit, and that's the idea that one other thing people can be using all of their items on, that'd be kind of a sink or a way to kind of not necessarily take them out of the economy, but assign them to something other than being equipped or being sold, is as people start actually making the content on their claims, that you actually have to equip those creatures with real items, that you can't just equip them with nothing. Now you might be able to set whether they're lootable or not, so you can have it that you've got this really tough raid, and if anybody actually survives and takes anything down, sure, they get some of the loot, and that's totally awesome for them. Or it could be done in such a way that you've just got really tough mobs, you've got this really tough encounter you've set up, and there's a prize at the end that you've defined in some other way. So if they actually do manage to survive and win the encounter, maybe there's like 10 elemental rubicite waiting for them at the end. Something, that then would be drained from your own personal supply. But if it's such a small reward and it's such a difficult kind of instance or whatever, that it'll be hard for people to get through. That's the other thing, is you could also even potentially, if they give the features for it, charge an entry fee of 1 rubicite. So, the toughest will enter, and only the absolute toughest will win, sort of thing.
Well, the other thing too that I was okay. So not everybody has so whatever system they come up with to basically, it's basically what we're looking at as an item sink, right? So that not an item drain, so that not just so it's not just pure faucet, it's not just pure people making things and then they go nowhere, right? So, or have no reason to make things, right? So as long as there is a sink, or at least a couple of good sinks that will matter to somebody, whether it's builders or PvPers or whoever, whatever system they manage to come up with that makes sense and feels right, then whoever is not, you can say, well, I'm not a PvPer, so I don't care. What am I going to do with my stuff? Or I'm not I'm a builder, I don't care. Well, but then you could, that's where the market comes in. It's like, okay, so you can sell to those people who are going through the items like water. It's one of those, like, the economy can compensate for whatever unevenness, and obviously they wouldn't want to make it too lopsided, because then you'll get people being like, SOE hates PvPers because look at what they're making us do, you know what I mean? Like, and they'll be like, they actually just never wanted this to be a building game anyway, otherwise they'd see that, so you want to make it kind of balanced, but you know what I mean? Like, the economy can take over. It's
funny, actually, I kind of, in a way, like, it's funny and everything. Like, people will say that on the forums, like, whatever. But ultimately, I hope that they do. I hope that it's weird. It's like, they say, like, the perfect compromise is when both parties feel like they've lost, and it's why you find on games that actually have very good balance and a very good. It's normally PvP, because people care about these things. Yeah, but you always get arguments. Like, any good game on the forum, you will guaranteed one thread saying this class is OP, the next thread says this class is underpowered. Every single, like, without fail, that you'll get both sides of those things. And I think that the only way to really make it fair is to have it so, like, in every single instance you get people that are happy with it and people that aren't happy with it, because that means that you've kind of got it right. Like, if everyone's happy with it, it probably means it's too easy, or you're some kind of, like, mega genius.
I mean, like,
and let's be honest, I need to work on this game.
Every game has overpowered paladins. It's a thing. Like, if there's a game and it has
paladins,
they're overpowered. It's just a thing.
That's what BC Paladin, man.
Like, I guess not, but from like anything I've ever played, a Paladin is, you have lawful good as your only restriction, and other than that, you've got the fighting prowess of the best warrior class. You've got some amount of, like, cleric style healing abilities, turn undead, all of that stuff, and at level 10 you get a posse and a horse and a castle. I think that was D&D 2nd edition, where level 10 you start getting, like, awesome stuff. But yeah, that's the Paladin has always been built ever since like early fantasy games as the OP class with just that one restriction that you have to be lawful good. Which what the fuck does that actually ever mean until story bricks can actually reinforce it?
It's a weird thing though, isn't it? This whole system that we're talking about now, it's got to be a system that is applied to a game which is totally about user generated content. So when we make claims, like I was thinking about it when you were saying, Reese, about doing the dungeon that's on the claim that's like super hard. Who sets difficulty of that?
You do.
Like, obviously, it's the easiest thing in the world to make content, but that's the thing. It's the easiest thing in the world to make content that no one can do. Anyone can do that, you just.
But
you just set it so
to
the
do it in a
monster
way that's
immediately
like
kills everyone.
tasteful and meaningful.
Exactly. So how do you tune it? Like
That's
and
being
then
a
once
game
you tune
designer.
it,
I
So-
can't. I can't
exactly.
condense all of my game
exactly.
design
Okay.
experience
Okay.
into.
So we're getting to the point. What stops players from doing a dungeon that is super easy, where you just
So-
go in and kill one chicken, and then there's a ton of stuff at the end.
If you want to
So-
have a joke dungeon, for sure, go ahead, Era.
Okay, so the Foundry and Neverwinter had a system for that. So basically, you could there was like a daily quest, and you could do like 3 Foundries or something, which is 3 player-made dungeon quest idea kind of deal, instanced. Do 3 of them and get a daily reward of I forgot what. So in order to Astral Diamonds, yeah. So in order to for your quest or for your dungeon to qualify, it had to take at least 15 minutes, and you would get so if the average playtime, and basically every player would be timed, and if the average playtime was less than 15 minutes, clearly it's too easy, and it's not worth the reward of the Astral Diamonds. And so basically no one, people, unless it was sort of a flavor thing or some sort of role-playing thing or something like that, people would make their content at least as hard as it would take to do in 15 minutes, because otherwise no one would do it, because everyone wanted to do the daily quest, right? So it would sort of balance things out. And likewise, if you had a really long one, you would get better rewards in the end. Like if you had one that took an hour, which was pretty rare, but if you had one that took an hour, you get better stuff. So yeah, I mean,
That's
there are
what I
ways
mean.
to do
It's
it.
like when you take it out of SOE's hands, like what the length of time things take, what the rewards are for those things. When you take that out of their hands, like surely that'll have quite a big effect on the economy. Like when there's all different types of content, hopefully people coming up with entirely new game types that none of us have played before. That's my big dream for Landmark. Like I hope it happens. But what happens when that, like who decides like what that is worth? Who decides how difficult something has to be? I'm also enjoying the chat.
Yeah.
And like every game has to be for everyone or it's worthless.
didn't see that
Everyone
one.
must enjoy the same. There can be only one game that everyone must
I think
love.
that's why it's so nice that there isn't going to be an experience system in the game, because I mean there might be some ways to, and they've talked about it, some ways you can like increase your health and maybe some of your attributes to some extent. But for the most part, it's not going to be like substantial, like level 1 to level 80 kind of power transition. So that being the case, it'll be a lot easier to kind of find a relative kind of sweet spot for balance, and then be able to fine tune that towards easy versus difficult. And that's not a one person project. That's like a large community wide sort of thing to really be able to get to that, because that's taking the combined experience of not just game designers but people that have played a whole lot of games and really understand basically at the level of a game designer, just not on the technical level, and really being able to hammer everything in and figure everything out. Something though I wanted to say, because now it's 40 minutes before we normally kind of wrap up here. Would you folks like to continue this for a little bit more, or move on to Q&A?
Well, let's have people go ahead and put in your questions in brackets so that people
No one's
our guys
asking
can see.
questions.
Yeah, no one's
Quite a
asking
few.
questions.
We don't ask anything of you people. What is the matter? You've been in chat for an hour and 23 minutes. Just been sitting there, not holding up your end of the bargain, quite
But-
frankly. have a serious talk about this.
And let's have questions
Who's done
on
it?
Landmark.
And
Chris,
we have
Chris
like
has asked us a question. It's a joke question, but he asked it. Felgen asked us a question. You know, Felgen's at work and he still asked us a question. It's a joke question.
no, it's
but he
not.
still
That's a
asked
real
it.
question. I'm actually going to answer it when
It's a
we get
legit
to it.
question, Locke. Jesus.
But you know, he's going up against Terry Michaels and Pentapod, so I don't fancy his chances.
All right. So
Was it-
what else
there
do
was
we
another
want to
question.
say on the subject, or is it time to move on to Q&A? Now that it's kind of
Q&A
though.
yeah.
Omi's question.
Yeah.
That's
many
like how
beers
many
will
jelly
Omi
beans are in
drink
this
tonight?
jar. Like it could
Hey,
be a
come on,
lot. I
people.
don't know. I still
Even
don't know what
Omi,
kind
that's
that
the
is, Omi.
question. Even Omi, that's the question. He's useless. Alright.
Wow.
What else is there? Who's reading the questions?
Tobrin, obviously.
Well, obviously me. Well, I need to find them.
What's-
Scroll
Hold on.
all the
first
way up to
question?
the
Open.
to the top.
What?
What's the first question?
Are you actually asking that?
No, Tobrin. You have to whisper.
No, I can't find it. No, wait, hold on.
Tobrin.
Wait. I will find it. I've lost it.
Tobrin, you must learn. You must learn to listen to instructions.
Okay. First question
whisper.
from Paradox Moose
Tobrin.
asked, question, will you read the question, Torbrand? Yes, I did read the question. Next question.
It's a little
Next
ways down
question.
now.
Tobrin,
Look.
just whisper the question. Look into the camera.
I posted it at
No.
the
Creepy.
a few minutes ago.
You're so
Alright. Alright, question. Don't know who this one's from, but it asks, are we going to get an Omid NPC in game?
Yes, we're going to get the
Yes.
the Omid from Huntic, the adventure whatever show, Searchers and Seekers, whatever the hell it was. That's the version of Omid we're gonna get. Not lounge, pool style with the pants and the jacket and the cigar Omid, not bobblehead Omid, not corporate with the blazer and everything Omid. No, we're gonna get the Omid with 4 spears being pointed at him. And those characters, those NPCs are actually going to follow him around, holding those spears and pointing them at him. So no matter where you're at, you've got that specific scene. That's the image of his character from the show he was the producer on, or brand manager, or Omid. What the hell did you do on that show again? I can't remember.
You made it.
Mr. Poundsign's made a really interesting point in chat. There's really hard multiplayer games don't work as well as really hard single player games. The truly skilled get frustrated. Oh god, Twitch automatically went to the bottom. The truly skilled get frustrated. The reasonably skilled get frustrated for the wrong reasons, and the not so skilled get frustrated at the difficulty. Toss in illusionary superiority, and it's just a crappy experience. I think that's an excellent point. I know we weren't talking about anything on
no.
the show, but
Good
I
catch
I
there.
just wanted to highlight that. I would, I would argue that I think,
Creative
games
director,
like
writer,
Dota 2
creator.
kind of.
Okay. Sorry.
Seems slightly
There
redundant.
I would argue that the games like Dota 2 kind of they show that it's possible to make really good. I'd call that a hard multiplayer game, but I suppose the difficulty comes from the fact that you're playing against other people. So I don't want to get into the whole
I would
PvP thing, but I think it does.
Realm of the Mad God is a really difficult game that's really fun to play and has, hardcore mode built in. It's really fun. It's basically like almost a not quite a roguelike sort of experience, but definitely like a rapid kind of micro MMO with permadeath.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, but I think it comes from the frustration, doesn't it? Like that's the interesting point. It's like if it is really hard, you do get that 1% at the top. You get the 1%, like the type A gamer, super hardcore achiever people that play for 15 hours a day, and they're brilliant, and I'm really glad that they do that. And they're happy, but then like everyone else kind of underneath, and it's interesting that sort of illusion of superiority thing. I talk about the Dunning-Kruger effect a lot, where people that aren't very good at things tend to think they're a lot better at it than they are. And I think that's very prevalent in MMOs.
They haven't had time to figure out yet what makes them bad.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Like they don't understand the theory enough to even see what they're doing wrong, and so like it's true in school too. It's like when you start to realize it's that moment when you've studied enough, and then you realize, oh my god, I have no idea what I'm doing, and then you're like, you actually know that you're actually getting kind of close because you realize how screwed you are, and then like you just have to keep going another 10 hours and you'll be all right. Like, I'm just saying. It's the same thing.
Socrates said the only true wisdom is knowing that you know nothing, and it really reminded me, like, going back to Dota 2 again. Like, you ask the pro players that are winning all these tournaments and stuff, and
They'll
they'll
say they suck.
after the game that they won, they'll tell you every single thing that they did wrong, and they'll tell you that they played really badly and they're really disappointed with their performance. There was a guy that I met the other day who was like, "Oh, I'm really good at Dota," and I was like, "No, you're not."
Oh,
No,
okay.
I was like,
Because anyone who's good at Dota says they suck.
I don't know if you're on a team. I don't know
Allegedly,
anything about you, but you just said that, which means you're not.
Allegedly, Marvin Gaye couldn't make love to his own music because whenever he'd hear it, he'd be complaining about things he could have done better.
There you go.
It's the artists.
It's like shows like the X Factor or do you have the X Factor in the US?
Yeah, I think so.
American Idol. American Idol. Yes, the singing thing with Simon Cowell.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get the people that go on and they're absolutely awful. They're absolutely terrible at singing, but they believe in their minds that they're really good at it.
Well, they might be the best singer in their town.
The fact that they are so bad, the fact that they're so bad at it means that they don't have the tools that allows them to judge their own merit. So to them, their heads, they are as good as people that are amazing because they can't judge what the difference is. Like, they don't understand what makes it good and bad. And I think it's a bit of a sidetrack, but I thought it was an interesting point about difficulty in games. When you're forced to stack up your own performance against millions of other people, a lot of people are disappointed.
Man, how we got there from Omid and
Yeah, I don't know how we
PC.
got there from here, but next question, Topher.
Next question. Felgun asks, Felgun, great producer or greatest producer?
I don't know what a producer does at SOE. Felgon, you're going to have to come on Live Feature Rant on Wednesday after the Landmark Live show over on my channel.
Brilliant.
And you're going to have to really describe to everybody what a producer does. And then after you've done that, make a case for why you're the greatest or at least a great producer. Because, I mean, you seem pretty good, but we just really have no idea. So we're going to need you to explain for us. Hit me up after the show and we'll figure something out.
I like to
Shameless
think that he
self-promotion.
doesn't really do anything. Like, he's just getting away with it. Like, he's got an office somewhere and he sort of sits in his office and is playing Landmark and stuff, and like people come in and people are like, "Mr. Smith," and he's like, "Oh yes," like just fearing for his life that they're going to ask him what he's been doing for like in the years since he started working there, but they're just like, "Do you want a coffee?" Walk off again. That's how it happens in my head.
Alright.
Sounds very much like
I know
a British
Mead's actually
comedy.
got loads to do, but he just doesn't do it.
Okay.
All right, next, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
EQN asks, question, if people never liked hard games, why are Dark Souls 1 and 2 popular?
People like hard games.
People like hard games.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
not maybe all people, but
Most
many
people.
people.
Well,
People
I
like
think-
okay,
I
no,
think
that's actually not true.
publishers-
People like to think that they're beating a hard game. That's what it is. People want to feel like the game is hard and they're still beating it because that's how awesome they are.
yeah.
That's the feeling that people want.
The enjoyment comes from the
Yeah.
satisfaction of completing something.
Which is why you have stuff. It's kind of like women's clothing, and it's sort of like people. That's why So what used to be an extra small is now like it's gotten small. Like, okay, it's actually gotten bigger. Like, an extra small now actually fits kind of like a medium.
Yeah.
Because you want to
wanna
make the
fit
ladies when they're in the store be like, oh my gosh, this is an extra small and it fits me. I'm so beautiful. Like, and that's exactly it. It's the same thing with like, it's the same thing with difficulty. Like, right? You don't start on super easy, do you? You start on normal, and then they make it slightly harder, and then you're suddenly an expert, and then suddenly it's a nightmare, but it's actually what would have been just kind of hard. Like, it's the same thing. It's just the trickery of like
Super
making
Monkey
you
Ball gets
feel-
really fucking difficult, even if you're
Well, yeah, I'm just
coordinated.
saying.
Or Super Hexagon's another one. Like, you can be the best Super Hexagon player, you're still not lasting 60 seconds consistently on the final level of difficulty. No way, no how.
VVVVV.
Yeah,
I mean, sure, yeah.
I've
there's
seen
gonna be a
people
point where it's
speedrun that
actually
one.
hard.
and it's-
I'm not saying it's that there isn't difficulty in games. I'm just saying like you want the player or that the feeling that players are actually chasing is the satisfaction of knowing that the game that people consider it hard and they beat it anyway because that's how awesome they are. It's like a self-congratulatory thing. Like it's just sort of it's what it is. It's chasing the feeling.
The thing is as well, people always say, "Oh, people don't want hard games anymore," but all the evidence is against that. Look at pick a really popular game that's come out recently. You know, Dark Souls 2 really popular. DayZ is still top of the Steam charts. Rust is top of the Steam charts. All these like indie games like VVVV, Super Meat Boy was really popular. Volgar the Viking, that was a big hit. You know, all of these things. Obviously, the biggest games in the world at the moment are PvP games that have really steep learning curves. The second most successful MMO is EVE Online, which has a ridiculous learning curve. Like I don't understand what evidence people are basing people just say, "Oh, people don't want hard games," and it's like, but all the games are hard that people are playing. It's like the publishers don't want to make hard games because the publishers think that too, and the publishers go, "Oh, you know, we need to tailor the experience for for this type of player." But what everyone is buying, at least you know, PC market. I don't know what console people do. Probably just, you know, rub dirt on themselves.
I think the biggest thing with it, though, is that it comes down to that the people just starting out playing games, they're trying to tap into the beginner market. And that's why so many of these games are so easy. But then once you've gotten your foot in the door on these easy games, you want to try something harder. You don't want to just play the same thing over and over. And that's why you keep getting more people going to play EVE, even though it's been out for how long? They don't have a declining subscriber base. They have a growing one.
Also, when we talk about difficulty, we need to be clear about it. This needs to be like real, true difficulty, not fake difficulty. Like there's some, I think, Ninja Turtles game that was horribly difficult just because the interface was terrible, the camera angles were wonky, and a lot of the techniques didn't work when you needed them to, and you fall to your death. So that's like that sort of fake difficulty. The interface is bad. The game is a cheating bastard. You know, that sort of stuff. If that stuff isn't a factor, and we're just talking about the smooth, high-quality game, just happens to be really difficult to actually complete. That's always been a thing, though. The Mega Man series. Sure, Mega Man 2 was the best-selling one in the United States because it had the easy difficulty, because normal was actually easy and difficult was actually on par with the difficulty of the other Mega Man games. But still, that series sold a whole lot. It's, you know, still a major favorite of a lot of people. You know, and those games, they're not easy. They really aren't. I'm a really good platformer, so I can play them, but they are not, especially some of the later ones. Like there's some levels in, I think, Mega Man X that they do require pretty precise coordination. And even someone who's good at the games, it's just a matter of being able to learn and memorize the things and execute with them. So, yeah, I mean, difficult games have always been there. Going back even further, Rogue. I was just playing Rogue a lot recently. Did it on Procedural Powerhouses last week. That game's from 1980. It's tough as hell. I would feel like I was having a really good run, and every single time I get smashed in the face by a troll. So, like, it seems like you're doing good up to a point, and then you get up to about floor 10 or 12 or so, then you see that T on the screen, and it's like, oh god, do I have a polymorph? Like, do I have a teleport? Do I have something to get the hell out of here, or am I just screwed? But it's fun. I love it.
Like, I totally forgot like what Ara said about people wanting to feel like they're good at games is so hilariously true. Like, you look at chat at the moment, and I know there's a lot of like old school MMO players and EQ players, and I realized when people ask the question, why are games easy now? They don't mean games are easy. They mean, why do people play WoW and not the game that I like? That's what they mean. When ultimately they don't understand that you can play almost any game as hardcore as you want. You know? You can make up your own rules for a game. We've been through this before when we're talking about like permadeath in MMOs. If you want to go that hardcore, when you die, delete your character. That's permadeath. If you want to be if you want to be a hardcore player, just put your money where your mouth is. Do it. Be a hardcore player. It's really there are so many games. You can do speed runs of games. You can be in competitive tournaments for games. You can get on teams. You can be in a hardcore raiding guild in World of Warcraft. You can say it's easy all you want, but all right, go and get a server first in a new raid. See how easy that is. See how close you get to server first if it's so easy. Oh no, I don't want to play that game. It's for casuals. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
see what it's like at the top end.
It's pretty rare that the game, and in fact, if a game doesn't have at least some potential for having a very hard, a very difficult gameplay, then that's probably bad game design, right? Like almost every game, you can, it may not be, even if it's not something that the developers have gone, okay, here's the hard mode, here you go, even if they haven't done that, you can figure out how to make it really hard and beat it anyway. I mean, there's difficulty levels in every game. It's just, just like you want, versus like you can, if you want your kid to be able to play and you don't want him to cry and feel really bad about himself, then you can just be like, here, you can help me get some dirt. Look how great you're doing, and that's the easy mode, right? Like, I'm just saying, like, there's different content doesn't have to just be what the developers are giving you. Like,
yeah. It's just funny that to some people that's like a criticism of games. It's like, oh, it's a casual game, it's for casuals, only casuals play, and it's like, well, that's up to you. Like if you want to be a casual player, and like you know what, for me, if there's a really low barrier to entry and a really high skill cap and it's got that easy to learn, difficult to master, to me that's a good thing. So I was talking on my stream a while ago about the telegraphs in WildStar, because people were bringing up the whole red circles thing, and I made the point that, like, yes, it does make the game easier at the first 10 levels, because you can see where and when the damage is going to come, and that's great because it means new players know what they're doing and they can understand what's going on and they can learn the game and enjoy the game. But it also means the way that they're implemented in WildStar, if you look at the footage of like the end game raids, and you watch like all the people running around and frantically trying to stay out of these things that are moving faster. They're moving faster than they could possibly move, but all the time they have to try and stay out of it if to have any hope of staying alive. And positional awareness is absolutely key in that game. It means that by using that type of telegraphs, they've actually made it harder. Whereas a lot of people go, "Oh, the red circles, casual, yeah," without actually thinking about what it means for the game. And if it is easy to learn and difficult to master, then in my opinion, I agree with Ara completely. She put it well. She said that's a good thing. That is a good thing for games, and I think we need more of it, to be honest. So there you go.
Yeah. All right. Tobran, read the question.
And I'm on the internet, so I know everything.
So you're definitely a professional.
So I'm definitely right. Oh god.
All right.
do it.
Okay, Michael9542_ Arctic Blade asks, when if ever will we be able to build with raw wood?
Never! You do not build with raw wood. Raw wood is logs. You convert that at a refining station into the kind of wood you do build with.
Actually, there was a when.
Can I convert it into logs if I want to build with logs?
What was that?
I was being facetious.
You want to build with logs?
Yeah, I want to make a log cabin to go with my beard.
That would be more of a prop sort of thing. Or actually, there's some really awesome log cabins. If you just search through #CastleScrapShack through the images, there's at least like 3 or 4 really nice log cabins that I've seen.
Now that we have paste
Thank
without
God,
air,
really
you
can.
could put down logs.
Yeah.
You just make cylinders and then paste them down.
You're gonna have textural issues, but sure.
Exactly.
We just need more textures. More textures, please. Dave, please.
There's
Or,
only Gentex.
Dave, please.
Just an option so that you don't get the voxels actually interacting with each other or bleeding through. Like some of the finished metals that they've shown that don't bleed at all. They've got the very fine line.
Yeah.
I love this Mr. Pound Sign guy in chat. Just made another
Yes,
really good. You can come back, sir. Oh, me, it's getting banned again, but you can come back.
Do it, Torburn.
Okay, Zatios asks, would all 5 of you come to my Glaven party? Yes.
Sure, gotta let us know where it's at though.
It's not
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Stumpy asks, how much longer till we are flooded with beta people?
If you're talking about the start of open beta, that's gonna be soon, and by soon they mean it's gonna be at least absolute minimum sometime in May, probably way further on. They're gonna take as long as they need with this. Other than being the whole how much longer till being flooded with beta people. Well, we're already in closed beta, so technically we're all already beta people. Or if you're talking, did you maybe mean like 2Ts there? You mean like the beta fish? Because I don't know if we're getting, that would
Clearly.
be an awesome race to have. I mean, with water coming and everything. I mean, they had it as a Planet Side 2 promotional thing. They had their beta fish, and then they all died one by one. But
Are there that many people banging on the door at the moment? Because
I see a lot of people trying to get
as many people.
A lot of people going
for
for
keys.
keys.
At the moment.
yeah,
a lot of people. Like my keys are just getting.
Yeah.
People want.
Yeah.
I'm really bad at it. I don't do giveaways, so
Bad man.
I just give them to people indiscriminately.
I wish I had
Do you
more
even
like
normally
7-day
stream?
keys to give away. That would be great, because like the permanent beta access, like those, I want to actually know the person before I kind of give it away to them, or at least them being one of my, someone that's watching one of my shows. Because if I'm just giving them away all willy-nilly, you could just, have a bunch of people that come in, build dicks, and walk away, and that's, not necessarily what we need for the community.
I remember once there was a guy on Reddit who posted a thread saying, "To all of you RP people," and inside it was like, "We're gonna descend on this game and ruin your role play. You're standing around like pretending to be elves, and we're gonna come and build dicks on your lawn and like shout at you. We're gonna ruin it." And
I vaguely remember you talking about this before.
Yeah. Just like, all right, and
God.
when you've got your pick and you've paid your upkeep, back to us.
Yeah, exactly. It was a joy for me to watch. I'm like, yeah, enjoy the progression, dickhead. Think about, oh my god, you're gonna build a penis statue 100 meters away from my claim. Oh god, what if I faint and fall out of my chair? So.
Yeah.
Anyway, what were we talking about?
Yeah.
Open
Maybe.
beta, yeah, it's miles off. Miles off.
Yeah.
Hopefully
At least
before
another
SOE
month.
Live, though. I'd like to see it before SOE Live.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Well, it would be nice before SOE Live, because that way you can have contests or events, or just have the computers they have on the floor there. Start playing Landmark today. It's open beta. Just sign up and play. And potentially, they could have a build contest, like a 1 hour, 2 hour, 4 hour, like see what sort of awesome thing you and maybe a few other people can do, and have voting on it and cash prizes, because they like to do those at SOE Live. And could be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah.
Everybody
They like
gets a
big
nice sweet pair of
announcements,
Gunnar optics that I don't know, like there's like 2 people that still use those.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do they actually make a difference? I tried them on at,
Okay,
at an event once, and I was like, ooh, it looks different.
No, okay, so it doesn't make a difference if you're going to play for 3 hours. Doesn't make a difference if you're going to play for 5. It makes a difference if you're going to play for 15. It's one of those, like, you have to use them for a long time. That's why people who try them on are like, this is stupid. And you're like, yeah, it's because you're using them for 5 minutes.
Or is it like
it's
a
a fatigue
daily
thing.
use thing as well? Does it make a difference if it's like every day or?
I never did use them every day. I used them when in Eve when like we'd be doing an invasion and someone had to watch the wormhole to make sure that no one came in and to ruin our day. And so you're just like nodding off and watching and you're just like and you're having to stare for like forever. And it actually
Eve
did
is
make
so
a really
brilliant. That's a proper game, that is. I just
Yeah.
love it.
The
Just doesn't
It
mess
did
about. You know
make a
why?
difference.
You know why that's so brilliant as well. So why it's so brilliant is the game doesn't tell you to do that. Like it's not up to the game. It's like you're doing it because someone could come in, and that's what I mean about playing games hardcore. The game doesn't. She doesn't have to do that. Doesn't have to do that to like get the boots drop that she wants. It's like she's there because they've decided as a group that they need. Sorry. Anyway,
Yeah.
sidetrack for that stuff.
All right.
Brilliant.
Listen, they work for only in the long term. Like you're not gonna put it on for 5 minutes, be like,
Yeah.
this is fantastic. I could be better. Like it's not gonna work that.
Okay, so Tovran, read the question.
Okay, Sigther asks, how do you feel the nerfing of the stats with legacy items was the right way to go? It does promote people to use the new system, but it also causes resentment in the player base.
I think the patch they're doing right now is to fix the nerfing that had happened to the legacy items and restore them to their previous state. So
I think it doesn't matter in the long run, because are we really going to keep all this stuff on launch day?
yeah, we will, but I don't know if legacy items will remain. There could be something where over the next month or so they start to try to phase those out and just have only the new crafting 2.0 versions in. So I don't even know. They could eventually do a legacy, not necessarily wipe, but an auto salvaging of all legacy items at some point.
Or, I mean, to be honest,
How
I
do you
mean,
know
we
that
don't
we're
even
going
have
to keep
Ethereum
this
yet.
up through launch day?
They've said
Like,
we don't lose anything anymore.
That's our reward for being good little alpha and beta people.
Yeah,
Is that
closed
is
beta
that
and
they're
Omni
not
keep
gonna-
everything.
Yeah. So-
Everything.
The other thing is that
Water isn't
once we
even
get
going to wipe the
Ethereum-
claims.
Yeah, once we get Ethereum and on all that, we get a new tier of stuff, and obviously all of that's going to be, Crafting 2.0, and they're not going to be legacy or anything. It's not like the legendary, and we've known that. It's not like that's a surprise. It's not like,
Right.
anyone who rushed for the legendary mithril pick is like, oh man, are you kidding me? Like, you said, like they've known that.
This is a gear treadmill.
Yeah.
God, it's exactly like
Great.
the wall.
So, I mean, as long now that we've known that, right? Like, so we're gonna have to do it again anyway, and so obviously all those items are gonna be perfectly suited for the upgrading system, and so it's long term.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's beta. If they did it, it's closed beta. So if they did it in open beta, or when the game was live, or when the game was meant to be like feature complete, it'd be annoying. But it's not finished. Stuff like this will happen lots.
Yep.
And that's what we're in. That's
Well,
what
It's
beta
the
is.
fundamental point of we are paying to have early access and to help the developers finish the game, and we get access as a kind of perk of that. We are not paying, like, this is not we've paid for this game and it needs to be perfect, and that's not what that means. So it's just kind of keeping
And
that
if you're not
perspective.
cool with that, get your money back.
Yeah,
Wait for it to
exactly.
be free, and when it is finished, and then play it for free. It'll be better, and you won't have to worry about stuff like this.
So it looks
Yay.
like the next question's for you, Era. Tobran, if you do the honors.
Death Rises asks, can you show me how to
Never
build like
gets
you
old.
Yeah, just watch my channel. I built
Hey,
That's simple.
Yay!
Sell out.
Yeah,
Sell out.
I mean, I build pretty much every day on my stream, so
That is mostly what you're doing on there. That is true.
Pretty much.
I've seen
Although,
your
I
streams.
I am not. If you're looking for like technical building, at least at this point, I'm not that person. I build kind of like, if you actually dissect my builds, they're pretty freaking simple. It's just sort of, you know what I mean? Like, whatever. But
It's the
Yeah.
artistic thing that matters, though. You can be the most technically gifted
Oh.
person in the world, but if you don't have that artistic flair, then you're never going to get anywhere.
Omid's
just saying.
teasing
Sorry.
us. There's an item coming next week.
Oh.
It's the new item.
someone,
It's three
Hangman.
words. No idea what it is. He might get drunk enough to reveal it this weekend. We may not know.
I'll be there. I'll
Tune
catch
in
it.
tomorrow. Of course, he might also leak it today at the drinking event, which actually leads us to the next question, Tobren.
Ashfix asks, Ara, are you going to drink with SOE tonight?
I'll probably have some. That's like I did last weekend. I'll have some, but I'm probably gonna end up as the designated driver, so I gotta be responsible. And
Really? So aren't you local as well? Are you
I'm
going?
4 to 6 hours away, depending on traffic.
okay.
So, like I said earlier when Omid
basically
announced the
around the
event.
corner.
Yeah, when Omid announced the event, like I
And
could
we're offline again.
at the end of the show,
Yay.
Yeah.
maybe get there
Oh, no,
before
we're
it starts.
actually offline.
Yeah, I know. I was just
Okay.
finishing my.
Gorilla says offline.
Do we want to try to get it going one more time to finish out proper, or just leave it at that? I'm gonna.